Hello, and welcome to the FringeRX podcast. I'm Anna Strong, and I'm on a mission to find a cure for autoimmune. We talk education, healing, support, do's, don'ts, wins, and losses, all to improve our quality of life. Hi, welcome to another episode of FringeRX. I'm Anna Strong, and I have with me a very special guest today because it's Scleroderma Day with Rachael Lando. I also have scleroderma, so we'll be talking about our mutual love of a disease that's very rare, autoimmune, and is curable, and why it's not available in the United States. We have no idea. But let's welcome Rachael right now to the show.
Hi, Anna. Thanks for having me today.
Hi, Rachael. How are you doing? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling in from Park City, Utah.
Oh, nice. Sundance. Is that going on right
Yes.
like that? Okay.
It is.
Are you going out to see the movies and stuff?
Not this year, just because of COVID.
For everybody who doesn't know what Sundance is, it's a marvelous celebration of movies and just skiing and parties. And I think it was Robert Redford who started Sundance, right? And
That is correct.
Just a huge amount of people. But with COVID-19, how is that adapting for Sundance?
So they've moved many of the movies to virtual screenings, and there's a few locations that are still open with social distancing and limited numbers of people able to join.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, at least you live there, you know.
Yes.
I actually wish I was there because with not a lot of people there, it would be great networking. But that's enough about me. Let's talk about you and autoimmune, because we're here spreading awareness and kicking and screaming, trying to find out why we are not getting the kind of treatments that we do have in the United States, why our doctors don't know how to implement those, and why we're being led astray. So tell us a little bit about yourself. When did you get sick, and when were you diagnosed?
So I became ill, significantly ill in May 2012. And within 3 months, I had a diagnosis of scleroderma. It started with black-tipped fingers and inflammation throughout my entire body. And it was 3 months is a very quick time to diagnose this illness.
That's an unusual way to go, because I know it took my doctors 10 years, because they were like, oh, that's normal, you know, you're just going through this or that. And I'm going like, no, this isn't normal. You know, I don't feel like this all the time. Why am I feeling like this? And you were diagnosed in 3 months. How long have you had it?
My guess is that I've had it for a very long time. I used to get swelling in my ankles and in my hands. Rings would get stuck on my fingers for 9 months sometimes, just because of my hand swelling. And when I spoke to doctors, you know, drink more water, change your nutrition, exercise more.
Well, see, this doesn't sound like you were diagnosed in 3 months. You had it a lot longer. I mean, how long do you think you had it before you were diagnosed?
Honestly, probably at least 10 years before. And even when I was a child, I used to get those, you know, the red marks on your face. I used to get those. So it's very difficult for me to assess exactly how long I had it. Yeah. I had swelling in my early 20s in my lower limbs. I went to podiatrists, and they weren't sure how to treat it.
Now, what does a podiatrist do?
I would go to the podiatrist because my ankles were in
Okay, so that's like a
particular.
foot doctor, right? So,
Correct. Yeah, a foot
right.
doctor.
Right. So for most autoimmunes, it's either a neurologist or a rheumatologist, and they know how to run the blood test. Like you need to have the right blood tests done. I believe it's an ANA, like an antibody, um, uh, test that you have to
Autonuclear
have, and then
antibody.
they can find out exactly what you have, but most of the time there's misdiagnosis. It's very sketchy what happens. But you were diagnosed in what age?
I was 28. I was diagnosed by a rheumatologist. I had an unusually high ANA reading, and I also I test positive for SCL70, which by today's diagnoses means I have the systemic diffuse scleroderma.
Right. So that affects your organs also. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. It primarily, generally, when people test positive for SCL70, they have to monitor for pulmonary fibrosis, which is essentially the hardening, the scarring of the lung tissue. And they also really need to watch for pulmonary hypertension, which is high blood pressure in the lungs.
It scares me when sometimes when I go to different doctors because my insurance will change and you have to go to this one or the other one. But I had one doctor look at me, going like, there's no cure, and looked at me like I was dying on his table. I just don't do that to me, because and I want to say it's messing with your ability to think positively, which is huge. I mean, you don't put that in somebody's head. So if you're a doctor out there looking at this show, knock it off. There is a cure. Don't say there's no cure. We just don't have it yet. It's coming. Now, for me, I went to a couple of support meetings, and I had a great awakening because I did not know what I was getting into. All I know is that I felt really, really bad. And there were people that had lost their fingers, people that had lost limbs, and people that were in wheelchairs. So this is a very serious disease. How do you deal with that?
Um, well, what you said about doctors and positivity really resonates with me. The way that I deal with it is keeping a positive mindset. I've had a lot of medical issues arise. I have lost use of my hands, but I just stay really present and focused in my life. So I use tools like meditation, modified yoga. I teach fitness too, um, and other tools like medical marijuana, CBD, oils,
So you're smoking a
all
lot
of
of
those
pot.
things. No, no, it sounds that way, but I really don't. I take one edible in the evenings before bed, and
You
I
take it. You
sometimes, if
take
I have
what before bed?
I take a THC gummy. It's
Oh, gummy
10
bears. Yes, we
milligrams of
love
THC.
them. Yeah,
Yes, yeah, I take that. I don't actually smoke pot because
because of the lungs.
um, exactly with the pulmonary fibrosis, I don't do anything that risks more scarring of the lung tissue.
I mean, is it your doctor that prescribes you the gummy bears, or do you buy them, on your own? Is it legal in your state? And
Yeah, in Utah, it is legal now for anyone with chronic pain to use medical marijuana. So I received it through a QMP, a qualified medical practitioner, and I go pick it up at the cannabis pharmacy.
so they
Um,
actually dose you. You know what kind of dosage.
they
You're not just, having a leg before you go to bed, and and not being able to wake up in the morning. It was just a
No.
leg of the gummy bear. No.
No. In fact, I take it every night at the same time with my medications. I take medication in the morning and in the evening, and then I wake up every day at 6 a.m. to practice meditation and yoga. So it definitely does not affect my motivation, my positivity, or my energy level in a negative way. For me, other people may have other side effects, but I certainly don't.
No, you're amazing. They call the autoimmune people warriors, and you're a really good example of that. Um, what is the typical day like? You said you wake up and you do yoga immediately. You don't brush your teeth
Yes.
first. No brush your teeth first. No shower first. You just immediately go into yoga.
The first
Tell
thing
me
I do
tell
in
me
the
the typical
morning.
morning.
Okay. I do generally wake up, I take my pills and drink a glass of water, and then I practice meditation just to get into my body, see what is going on in that moment. Different days present present with different symptoms, so I have to be aware of what's going on with me. Um, I think that that's the starting place. I think for living with an autoimmune disease is accepting that we are in pain, that we're living differently than others, and facing that. So that's where I like to start. And
That's
then
beautiful.
I practice, thank you. And then I practice mindful movement. This isn't like going to a cardio fitness class in the United States. It has to do with mobilization of the joints throughout my body, just to make sure that all of my muscles are awake. I know for myself, because of pain or whatever psychosocial reason, I lose control of some of my muscles at times. And so I literally need to wake them up. This can involve movement, it can also involve external sensations. So I use something called a yoga tune up ball or an OPTP soft foam roller, and I literally wake and stretch the skin around these muscles so that I have a little bit of additional mobility. This practice is normally an hour and a half, sometimes longer. I'm also a mom. I have a 5-year-old daughter. So generally, she wakes up as soon as I'm done practicing. Sometimes she practices with me. And then I get into mom mode and have to do all my mom responsibilities. With it, with us being in a pandemic right now, I am my daughter's primary teacher. And so we do school lessons and we cook together and we find ways to stay I call it that we exercise our mind, we exercise our body, we exercise our creativity. So I have a series of activities that we'll do. I try to also, as I'm preparing her meals, I have to, at this point, drink a lot of liquid nutrition. It's very difficult for me to chew. And so I often have prepared soups, but I also like to make some sort of juice in the morning, carrots, kale, whatever vegetables I have on hand, I just throw it in. Um, because nutrition is a very important component of living with this disease. We
Yes,
need
it
to make
is.
sure that
Are
we're
you on
getting
are you on an
that.
AIP diet or a Walls protocol or anything like that?
I tried various diets and ultimately decided that the best thing for me, and this is something that everyone needs to reach intuitively, is to just eat as many vegetables as possible and find and make sure that I have enough protein throughout the day. I don't. I am not gluten intolerant, but I don't eat a lot of processed foods. I don't eat a ton of sugar. I live by the MO of everything in moderation.
So,
That works for me.
so you have the diet going on. You have the yoga. Are you doing any other fringe treatments that we should know? I know we know you're a pothead now. No, I'm kidding. You're a sclera
Oh,
mama.
yes.
You're telling everybody to eat their vegetables. Very, very mama. Is there anything
Yeah.
else that you're doing that we should know about?
I actually believe for myself that finding little moments of peace are important. So I take what I call, well, actually, one of my mindfulness teachers labeled it this way, but she calls them mindfulness breaks. And so every once in a while, I do this thing of feeling my feet on the ground. And I try to just feel my connection with the earth and look around and reground myself. So that's a very important practice for staying in my body. As someone living with an autoimmune disease, I've noticed that it's very easy for me to want to live in my head, live in my fantasies, and just daydream all day instead of feeling what's actually going on with me. And so I have a number of practices I do to avoid this behavior. Otherwise, I'm very likely to get injured or not take care of myself, not eat enough, not drink enough. I have to stay present. And so the grounding of my feet, these mindfulness breaks, and I also am a big advocate. Of course, I live in Park City, Utah. I smoke pot. I'm a little hippie-ish. Is being in nature. So spending time in the trees, I've found that to be really beneficial. Or sitting outside and just breathing. And I also, speaking of breathing, I also practice pranayama, which are like ancient breath techniques. They're really popular today. You can find them in modern, like contemporaneous versions, like the Wim Hof method. Um, I think breathing is very important.
Now,
Um,
where can we
and then
find you online? Because you have like a wealth of information, and you're such a beautiful person. I mean, the information that you're giving to us is wonderful. I wish I had more time for you. We're going to have you come out to the studio. This is amazing. Your spirit is carrying you, and I can see it. So that's a marvelous thing. Are you uh, on any medication, like pharmaceuticals, that we should know about?
yes, I take amlodipine, I take gabapentin, hydroxychloroquine, and I also actually recently started an antidepressant. I think the statistic is somewhere between 80 and 90% of people living with scleroderma do ultimately take an SSRI. And I was really resistant to that. It doesn't fit into my, you know, live and let live kind of
Right.
lifestyle, but it has been really beneficial for me. Um, it's been really centering in a way I didn't
It's like find
expect.
out what
So,
works. Right. Right. So
yes,
so so
I
we're asking today, everyone, what's the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to you because of your scleroderma?
oh gosh, oh gosh, so many embarrassing things have happened. I mean, let's see, I've like dropped my daughter's birthday cake on the floor. I can't really hold on to things.
Oh my gosh.
Um, there, yeah, just laugh, and you just gotta like
Did they
smile and
still eat
pretend
it?
it's all okay.
Did everybody?
Yes,
Okay, well, see, it's the 30-second rule. You're fine. That's pretty good.
exactly. So
How
that
old is
was
your
funny.
daughter
Or
now?
I don't. She's 5.
5 years old. You're blessed. You're blessed. It's so wonderful to have you on the show. I want to thank you for spreading awareness and pushing for that cure, because that's what we're looking at. We're close, and we're going to see it. So we'll have you back again. You're just wonderful, Rachael. Give her a nice round of applause. There's Snappy. There we go. There's my
Thank you.
producer.
Thank you
We're
for having me.
COVID-19. We're just like this many people. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you learned something. This was amazing. She is strong, and it's mind over matter. It's being present and waiting for that cure, because we're going to find one. So call your senators, call your representatives, tell them to get off their butts and push for more research for autoimmune. My opinion is that we have a cure, and it's in stem cell therapy. So do some research and stay happy.